Okay, coming down. Here we go. Hello, welcome to another edition of KJ and Caldwell. On today's show, we're going to look back at a dramatic round one of Major League Soccer playoffs and, of course, talk about Canada defeating the mighty United States. And again, later in the show as well, we'll be talking about the English Premier League that was. And if you haven't already heard it, there's another show we've also done for you this week on a different show here that you can look at on our podcast platforms, all about La Liga. So please check that out as well. I am Christian Jack, and I'm delighted to be joined by my friend once again, Steven Caldwell. How are you, pal?
I'm good, Christian. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm actually honoured that you've got a little bit of time to spend with me this week because, between analysing the game for TSN, emceeing Light the Night in downtown Toronto, like the celebrity that you were, assistant coach for John Herdman in Canada, you're a busy father, you've got your kids, you got a lot of things going on. And so the fact that you've given me an hour on a Sunday night is an absolute pleasure. Thanks for fitting.
I will always have time for you, mate. That will never end.
Thanks, mate. We will get into talking about Canada. We have the assistant coach here. We're going to go behind the curtain and hear a little bit about how things were done and dissect Canada's brilliant performance against the United States. So stick with us for that a little bit later in the show. But what a round one of playoffs we have had. This has been, everything we thought it wouldn't be, or at least what I thought it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Kind of expert are we. You know what this... negative, depressing football of round one in MLS because they've gone to one leg and nobody wants to give anything up. Forget about all that. These action-packed matches, blowing us away with entertainment, blowing us away with goals. It's been brilliant. We should say that we're recording this before the LA Galaxy Minnesota game is kicking off. So if you want analysis on that, you're at the wrong place. But we'll analyze all the other ones for you. Five games. Let's go on the games that we've had. We will get in detail about TFC's win over DC United, where obviously we were broadcasting that game for TSN. But this playoffs began with the holders, Atlanta United, 1-0 victory over New England Revolution in what was the tightest game so far in the playoffs. And actually a really good game, a wide open game as well. A lot of chances. New England had their chances in this in the second half. They were really into it, and Atlanta were getting nervous. And I suppose that's the one good thing about these games is that even though there is obviously the element of getting knocked out in 90 minutes, every single minute of every game counts. It was a special game.
Yeah, and every team's played like that, haven't they, with that level of fear or intensity or understanding that this could be over in a second. Everything matters. And I think that the first game was an interesting one because New England played a lot better and took the game to Atlanta a lot more than I expected. I thought they were excellent, especially in that second half where I was watching a lot more closely, but just had good moments. I just always felt, and it was proved to be the case with Barco's lovely little ball to Escobar, that the class was with Atlanta, the true difference makers were playing in the red and black of Atlanta, and Barco comes up with a moment of clash, just that little inside ball to Escobar. Maybe you could blame the goalkeeper with Escobar going near a post, but a good finish by him as well. And yeah, maybe the most likely result was in that first game for me. I did not expect New England to go to Atlanta and get a result in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That proved to be the case.
Yeah, I was with you, although I think Atlanta showed a different side to them a little bit. They've been this 3-4-3 team, call them what you want, three at the back, four across the middle, and a little bit of the two and the one. But they went to a back four. They played 4-4-2 in the second half, or 4-4-1-1 with Barco operating just as that free role. And he's been very good, by the way. Talk about being a difference maker for them. Pity Martinez isn't even getting on the field.
Yeah.
And
something going on there.
Yeah, and Remedi's been very good for them. He didn't even start the game as well. Gressel plays out wide on the right-hand side. They look like a tough out. I will say that. We'll get to the next game in a second who they're playing, but they're at home again. We know it's against Philadelphia. We'll break the game down in a minute. But that's going to be a difficult place to go. If you have to go through Atlanta, and they could end up playing all three games at home if TFC go to New York and knock them off, that's a tough place to go, mate, because they don't give away many goal-scoring opportunities.
Yeah, they're a hardened side. They're used to this cup-type football, one-and-done type stuff. They obviously have had great success. They're the reigning champions. They've had great success this season in cup competition. So I think they'll be extremely difficult to beat in that stadium. I mean, what are we? We're recording before the next game, but we're 5 of 6 home teams so far that are through. So it shows you the advantage of playing at home.
5 from 5 so far. Yeah.
Sorry, 5 from 5. What am I saying? That they've got one to come. We'll see what happens in Minnesota. But I'm glad that's happened because it shows you the relevance of being strong in the regular season. Atlanta's going to be a formidable team to beat. That's why I've always had them as my pick out the Eastern Conference. It's no disrespect to the quality of the other teams. I just don't see anybody going in there to beat them. Now, if New York City beat Toronto FC and they're playing them at home, that's a different story. But they're used to that cup-type football. It's not free-flowing, is it? They're quite solid, quite difficult to beat, which maybe a lot of people, maybe me included, wouldn't have expected from Frank de Boer's side. I thought they'd be a bit more open, but I think after having some harsh lessons in the MLS in the early stages of his managerial career this season, he's learned to be a bit more solid and keep some bodies behind the ball. Be difficult to beat.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I love the fact that these home teams have taken advantage of it. You know, I struggle as analysts. I struggle with what the regular season means, and I get it when you're involved in a team. Every game, as you analyze your team, matters. But you know, when you tell me first of all that you're not reseeding, and then you tell me that, like, okay, what's a massive difference between finishing 5th and 6th or 7th? There isn't any, you know, or 4th even. But at least that home field advantage can certainly tip that way. And as we said, you know, the home field advantage has been there for a while in Major League Soccer in these one-game playoffs. So you have to go back since 2011 when they really started the one-game playoffs and one-game knockout games. Before this season, home teams 23-11 in those knockout games, and now that has been extended to 28-11 before the LA Galaxy game against Minnesota. So a wild game, and one that Atlanta will be happy to progress through. Talk about wild, the next one was even crazier. Seattle Sounders 4, FC Dallas, who you picked as a little bit of a surprise on our podcast last time, and we have to give you credit. They certainly dug deep. They were 2-0 down inside 22 minutes. We were watching this game at BMO Field with Greg Vanney a little bit before the game started. Greg Vanney said, 2-0 stand. We thought 2-0 stand. Yeah. Nobody thought any different. But give it credit, they came back, tied it at 2-2. Then they went down 3-2. You think, okay, well, they've got it now. Morris has scored again. Then they tie it again through Acosta at 3-3. And they forced Seattle into extra time. And Jordan Morris, what a story to come back from what he's come back from to get the hat-trick. And Seattle again showing a different side to them. If it's not Morris, it can be Ladero, it can be Rui Diaz, it can be Roldan. They proved their heavyweight tilt, their label there to get through.
Oh yeah, they're battle hardened when it comes to the playoffs for sure, and they have many ways to find the victory as well. And I think that's what makes them so dangerous. They're a fantastic team. But first, a word on Dallas, just wouldn't go away. 2-0 down in Seattle. You think, this is 3 or 4 or 5. And all of a sudden, before you know it's 2-2, 3-2, 3 each, just wouldn't go away. Credit to the young group. I hope that Gonzalez keeps them together. I think that they've got a lot of talent. I don't know if that's going to be possible. You'd think Reggie Cannon will be on the radar of some European clubs maybe, and a couple of the younger guys as well, Paxton Pomykal in a season or two. So it's how long we can keep this group of guys together and keep them progressing, because they are an open young team, a team that have no real fear. Seattle come through a big game. It's always nice, the playoffs, isn't it, in the early stages, to come through a challenge. We'll get to TFC in a minute and their challenge, but I think it's easier, not easier, it's better than actually having an easy game where you've cruised to a 2 or 3-0 victory. You've tested yourself, you've looked in a mirror, you've actually looked around your teammates and your stadium, if you're lucky enough to be at home, and thought, okay, you know, who actually believes in us, who actually thinks we can get this done, and to come through it, then you're better for it. And I think that Seattle are one of the teams where they've had a little bit of a scare, and maybe it'll just refocus them for the next few games.
Yeah, if you remember that game against Sporting Kansas City, the year they won it, they played Sporting Kansas City in a one-game playoff in Seattle that was back and forth. Really, I think it was a cold night that night, and Valdez got the 88th minute winner. They won 1-0, and at that point, I remember Brian Smetzer telling us that was a game where they were like, "Whoa, okay, now we can move on and see where we go." And actually went on after that and beat Dallas as well in the next round. TFC 5. DC United 1. Seems a bit strange to say.
Doesn't tell the full story, does it?
Doesn't tell hardly any story, to be honest. As Toronto FC scored 4 goals in the first half of extra time. after they conceded a goal in the 93rd minute from a set piece. Not sure where to start here. I think maybe the story is, as we covered it for TSN Sports Centre, the resilience and the mental fortitude of Toronto FC to come through. I was down there on pitch side. You were up there calling the game. And I have to say that, look, this is not an indictment on TFC at all, but when you concede a goal like that right away, of course, you're going to feel like you're a little bit down. And there was there was a lot of people asking a lot of questions when they came back about who was marking who on the set piece after they made the substitution for Drew Moore. There was a big inquest going on. They obviously felt like they were down. And they were allowed that. You're allowed that kind of thing between each other, but they didn't go out and show that, did they, in extra time? They went out there on the front foot.
Yeah, nobody was marking anybody. I think that's the key to it, because there was a free one at the near post, and there was Areola, I can't remember, someone in the middle just missed his kick. I think it was Areola. Nobody was near him, and then Rodriguez puts it in at the back post, and yeah, big moment. You're at home, the stadium just deflates. You're heading to extra time. Nobody knows what's going to happen. They have lots of attackers on the field. You have a good few defenders, maybe more than Greg Vanny would have liked. And I was unsure. I really had no idea how that extra time was going to go, Christian. But what we saw was TFC just go right on the front foot, take the game to DC United. They didn't have any answers. They got the Larea goal pretty early, and I think that settled them right away. If they went 10, 15 minutes there, I think it would have got really cagey and become a bit of a stalemate heading towards penalties. But when they got that early goal, they smelt blood, they went for it, and again, they're stronger for it. They were scintillating in the first period of the extra time, scored some tremendous goals, just kept the foot to the pedal, just pushing and pushing and pushing. Could have been 6, 7, 8. DC United were deflated, weren't they? They had too many strikers on the field. Rooney was playing centre mid. I think Rodriguez was at left back. It was just all over the place. Areola was in right back. He went more to attacking position. Canals came back into the right back where he had started the game. They were all over the place. The goals changed games, but in fairness, TFC completely deserved it with their first period of the extra time showing.
Yeah, if it was a boxing match, Alan Chapman would have done the 10 count and you're done. You know what I mean? Get off the field now, lads. And that's basically what Wayne Rooney decided to do. The boxing lover himself just walked off and sat on the bench and ended his MLS career. Probably the best.
Sad end, eh?
Sad end, but anyway, a little bit consistent with Wayne Rooney's career that he ends sad ways, a different career. Doesn't take too much away from his legacy, I don't think. You've been around the game a long time. I've covered the game. You've played a lot more games than I have because I've played 0 professional games. But have you actually ever seen a game in your life, watched at any level where a team scored 4 goals in the first half of any extra time, let alone the first half?
No, I can't. Nothing comes close to it. You know, I don't even think. So I've got surreal, wasn't it?
So I have a list for you.
Oh, you do? Fantastic.
I have a list. So after the game, I don't know about you, I can't really sleep after the game when you do a late broadcast like that. So I don't know how you get your mind on it. You know, go for a couple of pops. I'm not sure what you do. But, we have a couple after the game. But
yeah,
I got home and then obviously that crazy baseball game was going on. So I was watching Astros and Altuve winning the pennant. MotoGP live from Japan's going on at that point. I'm watching the Portland Timbers in a rainy game at RSL.
Yeah.
And during that time, I'm like trying to find out some games. I'm like, anybody ever scored 4 goals in extra time? So I did find some. I actually tweeted it out. I won't go through all of them, but Walsall 8, Torquay 4, 1995 FA Cup, ended 3-3. After it, 8-4. A Norwegian derby in a Norwegian Cup game in 1996. Tromsø 8, Tromsdalen 3, ended 3-3.
Wow.
So they got 5, yeah. How about this for a really reaching Southern League Cup, whatever that means. Sutton Coldfield 8, Rugby 2, ended 2-2 after normal time in 2004. Here's one. Welsh Cup, Queen's Park 3, Brimbo 7, ended 2-2. 2010 FA Cup, Leyton Orient 8, Droylsden 2, ended 2-2 after 90 minutes. 2018 Women's Champions League final, Wolfsburg 1, Lyon 4. It was 0-0 after 90 minutes. So yeah, I put that out there. And Andy Webster, friend of the show, followed up with a September 1996 Scottish League Cup game, Morton 3, Aberdeen 7. A late penalty for Aberdeen sent the tie to extra time before Dean Windass scored 4 in
Dean
extra time.
Windass got 4 in extra time. How is he still in the field? Fitness was never one of Dean Windass's strong points.
So the big news from that is that Dean Windass played 120 minutes. Not that he got 4 goals in extra time. So it has been done, but as you can tell, we are really going there. Really going there on the limb to find some of those games. Never been done ever. Amazing stuff.
You're scouring the globe there to find some games.
Yeah, some fun there. Just wide awake. At that point, I'm just trying to go to sleep before the Rugby World Cup game kicks off in the morning.
Otherwise, 30 minutes in before the next
never
game.
get any sleep. Do you know what I'm saying? But overall, an impressive extra time by Toronto FC, who now head to New York, as do we, to play in the second round of the MLS playoffs in the Eastern Conference semi-final at New York City FC, and they will not fear them, Stephen. They may not start as favourites, but they were there during the run at the end of the season when they went 10 games unbeaten in the regular season. They drew 1-1 in that game. Alejandro Pozuelo missed a penalty. He got 2 penalties in that game, missed the second one, much like Sebastian Giovinco did once at Yankee Stadium, where we will not be going. But they are going there to Citi Field, and they will fancy their chances, particularly coming off an extra time like that, will certainly boost their confidence.
I think they'll be very confident, KJ. I think they played a good game against New York City, like you just mentioned. They felt hard done by. They thought they should have won that. And I think Morales was suspended, Maxi Morales, the Argentine, who's tremendous for New York City. And I don't think they were at their best. So it's going to be a tougher game. But I think they match up quite well, these two teams. And we've had about 24 hours to kind of reflect and digest the game that TFC played. And I was impressed by a lot of parts there. I have to say, I thought they moved the ball quickly, which was nice to see. At times I've been very critical of that, too slow, too square. No, I thought it was quite incisive. They were playing out of centre forward, which never really helps. But in some ways, the fluidity of that front line, Benezet was excellent. Jonathan Osorio was player of the match. I thought Pozuelo had a good game as well. Endo gave them a little bit something different in behind, and Delgado was all over the field as you would normally expect, trying to make up the numbers in certain areas. And I thought the TFC were quite good, and then they hit that point in the second half. They just kind of sat back. They can't have any of that hesitation, any of that negativity in New York City. If they sit back and they allow this side possession, they allow this side to build up play, I think they'll be in big trouble. They've got to stay in the front foot, try and take the game to New York City, try and make sure that they're defending rather than they're building up play, because the best part of New York City is their possession, their attack. So you don't want to give them too much room and space to do that, in my opinion. And a couple of things from me, and I'd like to know what you think about this, but obviously, will Gonzalez and Altidore be fit? Will Greg Vanny be brave enough to play Larea instead of Alvaro? I think that's critical for me, for TFC. And can they have enough presence up top to, like I say, keep possession and take the game to New York City against, a better side than DC United? New York City are comfortably better, in my opinion, and it won't be as easy as it was at Beamer Field.
No, it won't. And, they've got better centre-backs. And DC United centre-backs are good, but NYCFC are better ones, I think.
Yeah,
I do like the Pozuelo-Benezet connection. I do like that Benezet often drifts inside. They just have to be careful, as I tried to cover on the broadcast with one of my hits, that, you haven't got Benezet, Pozuelo, Osorio all going for the same area of grass at this time. And I think Greg Vanny was certainly trying to mould that thinking during the match. And I agree with you, Osorio, without question, the best player on the field. I thought he was incredible. I'm not sure where he gets his energy from, by the way, but he looked like he hadn't even played the match after the game. His fitness level is off the charts.
Doesn't sweat, does he?
No, it's remarkable. And I think that's actually helped him as well.
Yeah.
His fitness level has gone to another level. And I think because of that, then his ability to process information and read games is I think, gone on to another level over the last couple of seasons. But yeah, I like the fluidity of that. I think Omar Gonzalez is massive. I think if he's available to come back, it makes an enormous difference.
Yeah,
the way that they play. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go about that style. But I think, if they can keep Osorio involved in between the lines, I'm with you, the way they move the ball quicker. A little bit of rapid fire questions here. EG asked, and again, you can get all our questions into us on social media, #KJ and 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 Caldwell. EG asked, what must Gallardo do for Vanny to give him minutes? When he has played, he has shown potential. Well, the big thing is that I don't think he could play Gallardo, Benezet and Pozuelo because he needs work rate. right?
Yeah.
And that's why Endo's there. And he always knows Endo will go out there and give him 60 minutes, and then they can move things around. And if they're trailing in the game, then Gallardo will be on. But if they're not, he's not. That's the
No,
way.
I think Endo's direct as well, Christian. I think that's
he also comes
important.
inside a little bit, and Delgado goes
inside.
wider.
You'll hit shots. If he sees he had that right foot shot that kind of stung the palms of Bill Hamid. He had the left foot one that was an excellent save from Hamid. He has like a product to his play where, no disrespect to Gallardo and Benazir, but well, at times it's just a bit too extravagant, isn't it? It's a bit too much. So that's why Endo's in there for me. I don't see that changing.
No, I don't see that changing either. Ryan Anderson asks, do you think TFC have the best chance to make MLS Cup out of the Eastern Conference? I think Steven answered that a little bit earlier, still thinking that Atlanta and New York have a better chance at the moment. Guna, 1417, can Toronto FC win the MLS Cup again, even though they won't play any games more at Fortress BMO Field? Well, yeah, they can. They can win. I don't think they're the favourites right now, but yeah, they have a shot, as we've covered for SportsCenter and a couple of other broadcasts that we've done this week on TSN's programming. It is wide open. It is a lot of parity in the Eastern Conference. That parity is only extended and stretched even more when you have one-off games. I think that might suit TFC, particularly the way they're playing a little bit more. They are defensively more organised. You can see it, can't you? Even without Omar Gonzalez, which when we got the lineups and we heard about Omar and you put Simon together with Mavinga, you start thinking, and obviously I think everybody did, the reference point, start thinking, go back to the start of the season. It's the first time they played together since May as a four. And what do you think about with Simon and Mavinga? I think about 4-3 home to Minnesota, 3-2 away to Seattle, lots of chances. But I think the entire unit was more organised, and that helped Simon, who had a pretty good game.
Yeah, Simon was good. He played it simple. He didn't try to be too clever with anything that he did. There was one that I remember where he kind of came across the left-hand side, and I thought, okay, what's he going to do here? He just nodded it out the park, got back into his position. I thought, when Laurent Simon, the guy who has caps for Belgium, plays with that mindset, I think he can be a really good player. When he starts messing around and maybe trying to be a little bit too smart and stepping into too many things, I think he can be a liability. But his focus was excellent. He played pretty solid. Him and Mavinga didn't have a lot of questions asked for them. And again, if Gonzalez is not fit, Castellanos and Heber, Mitricha, these guys, Morales, they're going to ask questions, KJ. They're going to find little pockets. They're going to run in behind. They're going to stretch them wide. Even though it'll be a narrow pitch with the baseball field again, it's going to be much tougher. But if he has that same mentality, there's no doubt he can handle it, and he can be a success.
Yeah, I think anybody who hasn't seen New York City FC much this season, hopefully after listening to this, should be aware that they are a very different kind of opponent than DC United, who were very defensive and had one mindset coming into BMO Field on Saturday. That will not be the same in New York. And as you mentioned, Mitrica just coming back from the doldrums for Romania and scoring a big goal in the international break as well, after being set aside after falling out with his coach for 6 months, and then finally comes back to score that goal. Quickly, we'll breeze through the other couple of games because I know everybody else is eager to listen to the Canadian assistant coach on the line here. A rainy night, but Salt Lake get through against Portland. Portland were very poor in this game. Gio Savarese was disappointing. He said that at halftime in his interview, we need to be better. Second half, they were better. They got the goal through Espria. And again, a late drama. But RSL are sneaky. The sneaky, mate. They've come through again, and they're very difficult to break down at home.
They're good. They've got some good players. Kralak, Baird, could go on and on. Herrera, I quite like Herrera in there as well. Beckerman knows what he's doing. Everton, Luis. There's a lot of quality. There's some quality off the bench as well. So Sam Johnson comes on that game. And I think that they could be... I mean, the West is tough. You just can't stop thinking about, obviously, LAFC and Seattle. But I do think there's some excellent sides. The game's probably just about kicking off shortly with Minnesota and LA Galaxy. Don't know what's going to go in there. Salt Lake, I think, have potential as well. So there's a lot of things to consider, but I expected Salt Lake to win.
Same.
I've never been a massive fan of Portland. They did well, but I think there's something missing there, and I'm not too shocked as well Salt Lake won that one.
No, I thought the same. And they could go to Seattle and win as well. That'd be an interesting game to keep an eye on. Finally, an incredible game. And I mean that in every sense of it. An absolutely remarkable match. Philadelphia Union 4, New York Red Bulls 3. 3 goalkeeping mistakes by Andre Blake, and they still win the game. The guts that they showed, I was absolutely delighted for Jim Curtin, one of the men, the really good guys of the sport. Down 3-1, gave a brilliant interview to Danielle Slayton at halftime, where you could see that he'd just been shocked by conceding another goal right before halftime, but a complete leader, calm in his mannerisms, delivered the right message. And then to Philadelphia, who we've liked a lot all season, have been underrated, I think, across the board, went out there, delivered, got crucial goals in the end. Had a game had everything, by the way. VAR, stoppages, crazy saves. Robles made a brilliant save to keep New York Red Bulls in it as well. But Philadelphia, they came through, and it was a fantastic advertisement for Major League Soccer.
Yeah, it was rocking, wasn't it? The stadium, Talon Energy Stadium in Philadelphia was just magnificent, and I'm so pleased for that franchise. I really like Jim Curtin personally. We both do, don't we? He's just such a gracious man, and he's had some tough times here, and he's eventually got a squad that I think epitomises what he's all about. They work hard, they get into good areas, they're just honest as the day is long, and they played like that today under extreme adversity. Pico was everywhere. Extra time, he still had like so much energy in his legs. You're bringing on a man like Marco Fabian to try and see it out. He scored the winning goal, a little bit of a deflection there, but Medunjanin was tremendous, wasn't he, as well? And the unsung hero of that team for me is Jack Elliott. Brilliant, born in England, and
that's right.
Took some time to really establish himself. And there's some fantastic young homegrown talent there, but he's the first name in the team sheet. He's so consistent. He's about 6'5", 6'6". Big Jack scored a goal. What you see is what you get. He's solid, and I'm pleased for them. I'm delighted that they're going to get a chance to progress. It's going to be a difficult game against Atlanta, but again, always pleased for Jim.
Yeah, I was pleased for him as well. All done, of course, without their number one striker, Kasper Schmeichel, who was injured as well. So every credit for they were able to get that done as well. And they'll hopefully get him back from his foot injury. Okay, let's talk about Canada. They defeat United States by 2-0 in the Nations League action at BMO Field last Tuesday in a game that was a landmark night for Canadian soccer and the men's team, as they delivered a massive punch to a true heavyweight giant in CONCACAF by defeating the United States. And you were there. And our listeners, I know listeners will be all very keen to hear about breaking the game down and everything as well. Colin, a regular listener, said he was delighted to see Steven on the bench with Canada on Tuesday. He would love to hear Steve's thoughts on the game and what his role will look like in the team in the future. Well, he'll say what he can say. He'll do what he can. But at the end, I've still
got a return game to come, so I'll have to be careful here, Christian.
You're right. And also, it's great to actually see so many other people talking to you when I spent so much time with you. Josie Alston was giving you a little bit of ribbing. Yeah. Now I know why you guys were doing so well.
He kept calling me a traitor. I don't know. I think he thinks I'm American. I've got some American blood.
Yeah, but you do not have any American blood. You are connected to Canada. And you were the one to give John Herdman the massive bear hug when Cavallini made it into 2-0. John Herdman jumped up. I looked around, and who was there to carry him? Braveheart himself, Steven Caldwell, there joining in. Just tell us, because I know, you know what I think of you, mate. But that must have been a tremendous professional rush for you.
Yeah, it was quite incredible. It was my second camp with Canada. I was in the September camp with the 2 games against Cuba, and John had wanted me to sit upstairs and analyse the game from there. We have a number of coaches, and I was the one that was upstairs. It was a fantastic experience. I was there for the whole camp and very much part of the assistant coaching staff and coming up with the tactics and the training sessions and everything that goes into international football. And then for this one, he wanted me to come downstairs in about the 55th, 60th minute to kind of be beside the bench. I was upstairs for the first part, and then I came down. And when I got to that bench, I never sat there before. I'd been on the field, but I'd never been in a coaching staff and sat there. And it was an unbelievable moment, KJ. My heart started racing. It was phenomenal. I really had a feeling that I haven't felt since the day I retired. It was fantastic. It just felt like, okay, this is real. Upstairs, it sort of felt like I was still commentating on the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I got down to that pitch, and you know what this is like, being right next to the benches, but it was on that bench was very special, and I'm just honoured to be part of it, KJ. I really have John Herdman to thank for asking me to come in. He felt I could help. He felt I had some wisdom and some ideas and experiences that would help this group. I work alongside John and Simon Eady, the goalkeeper coach, Mauro Biello, of course, ex-Montreal Impact coach, and Jason DeVos, who's our former colleague at TSN and now does a coaching development role with Canada Soccer and helps out as an assistant coach as well. So I'm with great people. We have fantastic staff. We have sensational young players. It's so exciting to work with guys who want to learn, they want to listen, they want to grow, and they want to win. That's the most important thing. There is a burning desire to win consistently in this group, and I love it. And I hope I keep getting asked back, because it's a very proud moment for me to be asked.
You should be proud. Let's talk about the culture a little bit, because obviously much has been spoken and written about in terms of the tactics, about how they turned that team around and defeated the United States and the box midfield, and how they really outworked them, and the desire that Greg Berhalter mentioned that word in his post-game press conference, and he talks about the Canadians having more desire. But there's a culture being created here, and obviously there's going to be ups and downs. That's high performance sport. That's professional sport at its greatest. You're going to have good results and bad results, and they'll continue to do that. But having spent some time with these players, and I only get a little bit of a glimpse of the evidence, but I spend enough time in interviews with many of them. I interviewed a lot of them again during this camp. It's real, isn't it? It's genuine. Yeah. It's real, authentic about their relationships, and Jonathan Osorio told me after the game, it's a family, and it's in how special it is, and that can make an enormous difference, can't it? When you're on the field in those close games, and you've got guys there who are going to go after things for you.
Yeah, when you're building culture, for it to become truly authentic, it takes time. It has to take time, because it's about consistency of a message. It's about a togetherness. It's about communicating and accountability and understanding each other, and so. You build it layer by layer, and watching John Herdman, one of the best at doing that, watching him at close quarters has really been an unbelievable experience for me. I've been part of teams who had tremendous culture, but I've never seen it being built and being developed, and the work that goes into it. And now I'm fortunate enough to be on the other side and seeing the work that goes in with John and the entire staff, the detail, the meticulous nature that we go to make sure that everything is perfect for these guys, and that they have an ownership of these performances in the group, and the dynamic, and the culture within the group. And so that's been a real eye-opener for me. And it's like you say, it's genuine. It's not fake. It's not like these guys say these words and then they slink off to their rooms and they get on their phones and that. They're hanging out all the time. They're in leadership meetings. We're in tactical meetings. We're in team building sessions. It's constant. It's constant, and it's growing, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And we've got a way to go. We want this to go to, such a level that, again, like I said, it takes time. You just keep adding a bit to it every single moment. And what I love about it is that everybody's buying in 100%. Nobody's on the outside. This is a team effort. This is 23 players who are all involved. There's been different names, different people that have come, and there've been guys who are 18, 19, and players like Atiba Hutchinson, who are, I don't know what Atiba is, 35, 36,
right,
who are all buying in, and they're all part of it, and they've played at many different levels of the game, but there's a togetherness and there's a pride in wearing that red shirt of Canada. And that is at the bottom. That is the foundation of everything that we're trying to do with the national team. I just give kudos to John. It's a brilliant tactic. I've seen it work before with clubs where the group, the spirit that you have, can raise you to a level that you never thought possible. I think about Burnley more than any other club. Never expected to be in the Premier League, and we did it with a group of guys. Another 2, 3, 4 group of guys have took that on, but that is what it's all about. It's about an identity to who you are, and we're very proud to be Canada at the moment.
Yeah, great times and things that shouldn't be taken for granted. We've all seen, having lived here a number of years now, what it's like when it's not been like that. So you take this for granted at your peril. And I guess your question also just answered the question that you just answered me answers the next question at DU Feed, who asks, the rebuild with the Canadian soccer men's team is strong. What gets them over the hump next month in Orlando when they play the United States? By the way, that game will be on Friday, November the 15th. I guess what gets them over the hump is just carrying on, the consistency, the dedication to the job as well. But these things, there's good times for Canadian soccer right now. Jadip asks, and Mike both want to talk about the conclusion of the Canadian Premier League. Thoughts on that now the season is over? We will talk a little bit more about that when the finals are coming up as well at some point. But all I will say about that right now is that these are really exciting times for Canada soccer.
Yeah.
Canadian Premier League players are being involved. The season has coming to a close. It's been a success in most areas. We saw what Jonathan Osorio and Richie Laryea were able to do from the experience playing for Canada, and then 4 days later in the playoffs, what they're able to do there. Samuel Piette was magnificent for Canada, playing in the heart of a team in Canada from Montreal. Derek Cornelius, who I'm sure you spent enough time with over that time as well. Again,
fantastic.
He was the same, playing for Vancouver. Daniil Henry in there as well, Russell Tybert. So we're getting some of these key players who are playing for Canada, playing in Canada, which is the foundation for success going forward.
Yeah, it really is. You think about a lad like Liam Fraser, who doesn't get a lot of minutes at TFC. Unfortunately,
he comes onto the field.
Magnificent. He's not played the competitive game for months, and he comes on the field and he puts in a performance like that. It was outstanding, really great. I could go on and on. Stephen Vittoria is playing his football in Portugal again. Just a gentleman, just a man that wants to learn. Again, played at a level, could easily come in and have a bit of an attitude. No egos, no attitudes. All down to John, making sure that that's just not going to be accepted. And these guys have came in and bought into it. It's going to be tough in November. we've rattled a pretty big nation here. Someone who's had a lot of success and. You
haven't rattled them, mate. They are more than rattled. Okay.
Okay, so they're like a wounded bear, and they're probably. Greg Berhalter's a fantastic coach, and they've got some magnificent players. So they'll be thinking about their plan at the moment. And guess what? As are we. We're thinking about our plan as well, and we're making sure we're going to be ready, and we relish the challenge, and we respect who we're coming up against. Formidable, but we'll be going out there, and we'll be keeping our Canadian identity. We'll come up with a game plan that we feel is right, and it's up to us to have the players buy in and believe in that, and to coach them properly to make sure that they know the fine details of what's expected. And I can't wait for that game, because I think it's going to be an absolute classic. I really do. It's going to be such an exciting match.
Can't wait for it either. You and I will both be there. One of us will be working in the media. One of us will not be working in the media. But now you know, listeners. Now you know. Between now and November the 15th, hashtag KJ and Caldwell. Any other questions? And I'm sure some more will come in on Canada. We will do our best, and I will do my best to pin all the truth out of Steven Caldwell as well. All right, that has been Canadian National Team Chat and MLS Playoffs. Coming up later on another show, we'll be talking and dissecting all things Premier League. But before we get to that, it is quiz time. The answer will be on that show as well. It is the week, and it is Steven Caldwell, Mind the Gap. 2 players in between the gap, and all you need to do is just find those players. And this week, Steven Caldwell's link is to the Longstaff brothers, Sean and Matty Longstaff, currently playing for Newcastle. Just mind the gap. Can be the 2 players between his careers to the Longstaff brothers. We'll leave you there, and we'll chat on the other show previewing the Premier League. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week, and we'll chat soon. All right. Stopping on
How long was that?
Almost 39 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't take long.
File, export.
That was a good show.
What are we calling this?
Fun. MLS Canada.
Yeah. MLS in Canada, October
20th. It might take a while because it's the longest one.
Yeah.
Why don't I go stop this, mate, and then I'll go get a drink or something, and we'll be back in 10 minutes, and we'll finish the Premier League stuff, okay?
Cool.